Hello and welcome to Real Men Feel. I'm your host, author, coach, and healer, Andy Grant. Please visit theandygrant.com to learn more about me. Real Men Feel exists to remind men that they are human beings and they have the right to experience and express all of their emotions. We have conversations that most men are not having, but that all men can benefit from. My guest today is Seth Pearson. Seth is a guide and healer in the lineage of King Salomon, initiating those ready for a life of magic and empowerment into the ancient mystery school traditions. I know Seth because we are both healers and ritual masters in the modern mystery school. Last week, my guest was Matt Zeman, who had a very pro-psychedelics viewpoint, and I knew Seth used to feel that same way, so I invited him on this week as sort of a counterpoint. Seth shares why he used psychedelics, what he got from them, and why he no longer recommends them. He shares the best path he's found to self-love and knowing yourself as God, and offers the one thing he wishes more men knew. Let's do it. Hello, Seth, and welcome to Real Men Feel.
Hey, Andy. Great to be here.
So, I had seen you post something on Facebook about your psychedelic use, and the last episode, which I know you haven't had a chance to listen to, I talked to someone, that Matt Zeman, who is very pro-psychedelic use and has written many books on it. So, let's start with what first got you interested in psychedelics.
Yes. So back in the day, I was interested in psychedelics because there were some people that were very uh, adamant about it and had had a few experiences that they said were really helpful for them, kind of expanded their mind and gave them new perspectives on life. And after hearing about that and, kind of struggling with anxiety, being curious of if there's more to this life than meets the eye or more than I knew about. And I wanted to have an experience like that, even though I was really scared of it.
So were you not a big drug user of any type before getting into psychedelics? Or?
Correct. Yeah. When I was growing up, I was very straight edge. I even got really angry at some friends that started smoking weed when I was around maybe like 14 or so. I just kind of was like, how could you do that? No. And that was even one of the reasons why I became interested in psychedelics is because there was just one day I was so tired of being angry at my friends that were doing these things because they kept saying it was positive for them. And I just was so upset about that they needed something to escape reality.
Mm.
And you know, after a lot of reflection, I was like, well, it's like, if this is making me so angry, I maybe want to at least have an experience that would potentially just lessen my anger towards them, have more understanding as to why they're doing that.
So then did you first do it more so to placate friends, or was it more of your curiosity? Or I guess was it a combination of all those things?
Great question. I would say the first round of substances, which was alcohol and weed, that was to dissipate the kind of like the anger and create an understanding of what a lot of people were experiencing. And then from there, the next substance that I did was MDMA. And that was done because I was getting into the electronic dance music scene. And I was starting to go to more festivals, and it was a sort of similar thing where I was like, "Wow, I foresee myself being really into this, style of music for a long time, probably for my entire life. I want to at least like know what there's like a lot of people that are experiencing around me." And then there was with the mixture of I am hearing like really positive things. Like these were different than drinking or weed. People having like feeling this like sense of peace in life, and a new way of looking at things that seem to last after the like say normally drinking and weed. There's like things that just wear off from people, and so that was kind of a big deal because it was me getting into kind of like a harder drug, a hard substance, trying it something that I would like never have imagined myself doing. So it was very, very out of the box for me.
What were your initial experiences like? Was it something you got value from? Did it live up to the hype?
So with drinking and weed, it was not that great. I would say for those experiences. Though the first time that I did MDMA, like I must say that was probably one of the most, over the course of my life in terms of like transformation, that was like a kind of a self-initiatory experience. It's we'll get into this, more later. It's like because of the things that I know now and have experienced now, would I if someone knew about the ancient healings and teachings that I and so many others offer, would I recommend that anyone do that now? No. Though at the time, the best thing that I had to experience inner peace, have extreme empathy and love for myself and others, and understanding that there is more to this life than meets the eye. That was the most profound experience of I was 20 years old when I did that. And it basically put me on a path of seeking more. I was like, there has to be more.
The path of more, did that just mean more psychedelic usage? Or did it open you up to like, oh, there's got to be things even beyond this?
Right. Yeah. I would say more to this universe, to this world. And yes, there was a after that moment, I did share a lot about that experience. And obviously to this day, I still talk about it. There's even a video of me that first time on MDMA. It's Seth's first time on MDMA. You can look him on YouTube. You know, from that moment on, it wasn't that I was tied to that substance, even though I talked about it a lot and it had a profound effect on me. But I was like, it's more of what the realizations that I had well on it. It wasn't like the substance, it was like the fact that I experienced and understood what inner peace was. It was the ability to love myself fully and others, see literally the best in other people, and understand that uh, just kind of like this feeling of unity, harmony, love towards my fellow man, like knowing that no matter what they're doing, how they're acting, they have good hearts underneath them. Like those were profound teachings. And if you know take the substance away, those teachings are profound. And I know that there's a way to deliver that without substances now.
So, let's stay. You're 20. You've done it. You've had some amazing insights and experiences. How long did you continue to use psychedelics as part of your personal growth?
From that moment on, part of me making that choice and doing that, I wanted to kind of almost like prove to the world that someone didn't have to keep doing those things to like take those types of realizations along with oneself throughout life. So I didn't do MDMA again for till about 4 years later, and here I am talking about self-love is really important. Yes, self-love, this is great. Like, love of other people, love yourself, amazing. And, dance music is great too. That's very sweet of me doing that for the next 4 years. I did get interested in other substances. About 2 years later, so I was 22, I did psychedelic, mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms for the first time. And through that experience, I felt very connected to, I really wanted a sense and connection to nature itself. It was like MDMA, yeah, I felt a sense of extreme connection to humanity and even a little bit of like kind of like the celestial kind of galactic experience. Uh, but mushrooms, I really wanted to get a feeling of connection to nature. So I totally did have that experience. So that was helpful. And then when I was 24, I was between 22 and 24, I had an extreme uh existential dread that came back that I had experienced when I was very young. Actually, like 4.5, I had my first existential crisis, and those feelings started to come back. And I was having anxiety attacks about it, about like the fear of death and all this stuff. And so when I was 24, I made peace with my fear of death and made peace with the concept of infinity slash eternity. And that was using LSD. And dabbled with other things here and there in between this time. So obviously I was never doing things very consistently. Um, besides between 2023, there was relatively consistent weed usage, I would say. No, 21 to 23. Yeah. And then I did go into the ayahuasca realm at 26 to 28. Those were kind of wild. Those were in a sense helpful for me at the time. It's like, oh, having fun kind of like visual journeys that are, kind of part of my subconscious. But I feel like I didn't necessarily like gain any necessarily lasting insights when I think about it like that.
So was your usage primarily personal growth fueled, or was it sometimes just it's a party, it's a rave, let's all take something?
I would say probably 85 to 90% of my usage was personal growth based. In the final years, when I would do MDMA every like 4 to 6 months or so, sometimes they were because there was like maybe a big dance event and I had a lot of friends going and I wanted to have a very, like a super connected time with people. So there was still intention with it. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to a rave and I'm gonna take MDMA, which is weird because I do think there were a lot of people around me that had that mentality. And part of my like at that time psychedelic advocacy was uh about having more intention behind those usage and not, having just like using it as a recreational thing. And it was weird because, I was facilitating psychedelic experiences for people, and people knew that about me. And yet there were still people around me where I was like, why isn't this person gaining this insight that I had? Like, why isn't that happening for them? Why, which again, as we'll talk about more later, led into I was like, oh, just because people, use those things, uh, there's a good chance that is going to have the opposite effect and lead to something even worse than where they started potentially. And that I've found a system that works better for finding out and experiencing those types of realizations that I had.
It's funny you mentioned buying weed at 14. So the only time in my life I bought weed was at 14. I was a really depressed, pessimistic, suicidal kid. So my favorite drug, and I grew up pretty anti-drug, because I didn't like, if you need something to escape this reality, just escape it totally. Like, I was very militant about that in some ways, but I did like mushrooms because it just made me laugh, and it just made everything was better. I just
Mm.
laughed. So high school, college, just for fun. There was no personal growth, and that was not even those weren't words in my vocabulary. I did not, I was just trying to get by.
Yep.
And I've had one ayahuasca experience, which was fantastic, and I've never felt the need to chase it
Mhm.
because it was so good. I was like, well,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
odds of it being so good again are, why I've never felt the need to do it again.
Yeah.
So, do you currently use psychedelics?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's been what is it? We're in 2025.
Yeah.
So it's been 3.5 years of no psychedelics. I completely put them down. I think it was June or July of 2021.
And what prompted that decision?
As I was as I mentioned, a seeker of finding out the mysteries to this universe, to having a really good life. Like, what are the keys to having a really good life? Okay, I found out about self-love. I found out the importance of seeing the best in every single person and knowing that deep down that people are just like me, where I used to have a lot of anxiety and we're just afraid to just be myself around people and to be in my full expression. And that there was more, that there was a way to have a good life without necessarily, like, using psychedelics. If there's a better tool than psychedelics, I was ready to put those things down. And so at January 2021, I was 27 years old. I got initiated into the lineage of King Salomon as an adept through the Empower Thyself class. And in those 2 days, there were so many concepts talked about that was put into words that I had never, thought of saying before. And there were like these kind of like universal keys that I was like, yes, wow, if everyone fully embraced these types of teachings, then wow, we would be closer to world peace. Because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to help the world love themselves so much that all of the world's problems melt away and we get to world peace. And there were things in that class that I hadn't even considered before that I was like, why have I never heard about this? Why are there all these other spiritual teachings out in the world that don't get to this level of uh like, in a sense, simplicity, but also extreme complexity? And so after that initiation weekend, I was like, whoa, okay, this is wild. And there's more. I was told about becoming a second step initiate, a Healers Academy 1 initiate. And so 6 months later, I went and did that. And during this time, I still did ayahuasca one more time and MDMA one more time, becoming a first step and a second step. And so during that international program, Healers Academy 5-day program with the Modern Mystery School, I had experienced an energetic frequency, um, you know, externally in the class and within myself that I had never experienced before. I also did Galactic Activation 1, which is 2 days of awesome teachings and an activation of a healing modality. And after that experience, the Galactic Activation 1, Healers Academy 1, I came back to my, my usual normal life, uh, and my energy and my frequency was at a place I had never experienced before, and I knew at that point that if I did any type of substance after that, it would lower my energy for sure. I was like, I knew it. I knew it deep down. And I was like, I'm not going back. Like, I found the tool that this system that I don't even fully understand yet, that I know for a fact will lead people to living a better life, feeling the best possible, and without psychedelic usage, without the dangers that people either acknowledge or do not acknowledge about the experience of psychedelics.
So we've met due to the Modern Mystery School, and it's interesting. I was initiated into the Modern Mystery School in 2016, the same year this podcast was created, and this podcast was created weeks after I received my life activation, which is kind of the first healing from the Mystery School. So I feel funny asking this. So, what is the Modern Mystery School?
So the Modern Mystery School, think of it like the business vehicle for delivering the ancient mystery school traditions. This is part of the 7 ancient mystery school tradition. This is a hermetic lineage. Hermetics is teaching the mind of God. And basically, if someone, doesn't the word God doesn't work for someone yet, basically think of it like hermetics, the best way to live the best life. Just think of it like that. If someone is still having a hard time whenever I use the word God, think of the word kindness instead. How about that? I used to not really fully embrace the word God. I loved myself and I wanted to learn the ways to love myself the most, because if I love myself the most, then I could love other people better. And so now I love myself as God, and so I can love other people as God. In the modern mystery school, this ancient lineage dating back over 3,500 years, as I said, this lineage is the lineage of King Solomon. He was an epic healer, an amazing alchemist, an expert of Kabbalah, and all sorts of ancient metaphysical occult arts. And this is where a lot of people have trouble. Is like true miracles from magic are available to us all. And through this lineage, there's an actual pathway of empowerment, of healing. And as you said, it starts with the life activation initiation. It's like an amazing, like unbelievably wonderful life is available to all. And like I can't even imagine uh going back to the life that I was living before this.
Okay.
And yeah, I want to hear your question, because yeah, there's just so much.
Yeah. Does the mystery school have a position on psychedelic use?
I would say it's like there's no necessarily say good or bad, though we do share about the dangers of using psychedelics, and the dangers are the damage that is done to our energetic structures. So I was thinking about this before jumping on the podcast. Is this thing that I used to read back when I was doing psychedelics, is there would be more and more research coming out where like, wow, yeah, science is finally showing that psychedelics are really good for the brain, the nervous system, the whatever. And that showing that, wow, these drugs have been classified as the worst drugs, but look, they're not that bad for the body. So there's like a lot of substances where they're technically not too hard on the body, but some substances are really hard on the body. So like the ones that they say that aren't hard on the body is like LSD. Some that they say that are hard on the body is cocaine. The crazy part about and kind of like the really cool thing about metaphysics and like, hermetics in this ancient lineage is that the system, that whole system, um gives people the understanding of why a certain substance wouldn't hurt your body too much, but your energetic body, your spirit, your soul, your aura, the damage that it can do, why it hurts that and maybe not your physical body. So like what I'll talk about, more, especially in Empower Thyself, talking about our energetic structure, is that yeah, a lot of substances do a lot of harm to our auras. And then maybe people don't feel that necessarily right away, but over time it'll definitely, you know, show up in not great ways. I mean, people have a hard time acknowledging this even to this day, but like smoking a lot of weed, like you're gonna go crazy. Like there's a good chance that someone is gonna their mind is gonna be I don't know, like, yeah, it'll change your mind, but, like, is it actually for the better?
Is there anything in your psychedelic experiences, be it the community, anything in that world that you miss?
Hmm. Well, one of the things that I did, um, is I've been to a ton of electronic music shows over my life and festivals. And I mean, the majority of those experiences, I was sober. So what's cool is I still very much enjoy that. That's like a true, like, passion of mine and a joy. So I still get to enjoy those things. Uh, do I miss the like ayahuasca weekends, no. Do I miss the parties where there's like, I don't know, kind of like casual psychedelic usage or something like that? No. I mean, it's weird when I now experience such inner peace and joy at all times. Before I had a certain level of that before, but like it's nowhere near it is now. So I can't even say like when I'm on it's like when I was on MDMA, like there's still aspects of that that was an illusion that I was in. And so like I don't miss that. I don't think so, Andy. Like I've thought about this before too, and it's like I really have to like work towards it. The only thing that's, kind of a little bit of a challenge these days is that there's certain people that have known me over these years of being like such a proponent of psychedelics. And then it's weird because like when I've noticed that when people change, people see that as like a bad thing. And so like someone would be like, oh, it said you used to be really into psychedelics and now you study in a mystery school and you don't do that anymore. Like someone's like mind controlling you, like someone has like I've seen that kind of energy from people. And uh maybe they take that as a negative thing, and so that's like it's been like a stressor on my relationships. But the thing is like I'm more myself than I ever have been in my life, and if someone has a hard time with that, especially a friend, I'm like, well, you guys, this is just me, so I hope you just love me for being myself. And so I think there's a bit of an integration
Mm.
with that.
And psychedelics are gaining more mainstream acceptance for therapy and for personal growth. What's your top concern about that, or what do you think people are misunderstanding?
I would say something that I want people to do in this life, as I mentioned before, is like loving themselves as God. And I think that these substances become people's God. And it it kind of like I think it kind of was for me. Like I do think that was a thing to a certain sense because I thought that I needed those things to have what I was looking for. And now I know that is not the case. Though, I am in no way denying the kind of like revelations that I experienced on those substances.
Have you had experience with holotropic breathwork ever?
I have.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. I did that a bunch for a while. I never had super crazy profound experiences on that. That was never my
Oh,
I
but
mean, I had friends that were like professional facilitators
mm,
of that. And like I don't know, I just ended up being in circles where people are like screaming around me and I'm like, okay, I'm not having that
uh,
experience. Like what are you doing? I'm like, I'm, I'm like, I feel like this is some sort of like negative aspect of someone's ego just coming out. I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying not to be judgmental, but I will make fun of what's happening here. Uh so yeah. Uh yeah, I just think that there's people are gonna like kind of damage their energy structures and like kind of take on illusionary ideas and then become used like create like habits around that. Uh and then I don't know, it's hard to get out of that realm. Like I think I know there's a lot of people in this lineage that have gone out of using those substances um fully. And I just think the more that it's like accepted and like, oh, this is a good thing. Like it's like certain states, like I live in Colorado. I lived in Washington. Those were some of the first states that like, yeah, weed was just legalized. And it's just like, man, so many people smoke weed. And like it's just once someone creates the habit of that, like it's just it's I think it's hard for people to let that go. And like I've I have understanding, I have compassion. I was there myself. I smoked weed from 21 to 23 to help with my sleep. Would I ever do that again? No way. No way. So I think it makes it harder for people to, kind of like actually understand that the substance isn't the thing, but that it's themselves that can heal themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like as they do research on psychedelics, oh, it activates this part of the brain, it makes this area light up. And what I found
Yeah.
through the mystery school as well is that no, we don't need the substance. You can light that up. You can activate different aspects of you, organically. And then
Mhm.
yeah, you are the god running that show as opposed to some outside substance, as you said. But what I love about
Totally.
I love holotropic breathwork. I've had amazing
Cool.
experiences, and what blew my mind was I'm not doing anything except taking in oxygen. And I always thought, boy, if we taught this to
Nice.
kids, like drug use would just plummet. Because my first breathwork experience was like a stereotypical acid trip. I was like, it was just crazy, and I was like flying through the universe, and
Wow.
eating colors and seeing texture, just crazy multisensory thing. Um, and I loved it, but it cracked me open for healing in a way that I'd never done before. Like it was dramatic. I was highs and lows during this 2.5 hour session. Um, and
Mhm.
I wrote a book about it because I wanted to share. Like I'd never heard of this, so I've done it like 10 times, each time different, each time healing, each time just whatever I needed is what came to the forefront. But yeah, so big fan of that. I haven't done it in a
Cool.
while. Um, Most of my use was pre mystery school, but yeah, I still recommend that to people that are seeking because again, it's an experience without a substance, which is
Mhm.
what I like about it. Um, so
Totally. Well, that's cool. That's awesome.
Seth, you have a podcast, right?
I do. It's
Tell me
called
about that.
Love Amped with Seth Pearson. Yeah. And one more thing. I have to say one more thing that's just come to mind is like another like difference about the mystery school and the healing through that experience versus psychedelics is like when I get a healing session from someone that's, a healer in this lineage, it's like when I talk about loving oneself as God, it's like, oh, I'm inviting another God into my life to help heal me versus I'm saying, "Plant, heal everything, and I will worship you. Thank you." That's something that I really appreciate about the lineage, and is a different concept that I took in when I was, you know, first learning
Yeah.
uh, about these ancient ways. And okay, Love Amped with Seth Pearson. I started that podcast after two major events in my life. My mother committed suicide in 2017, and I think I was 25. Yeah, I was 25 at that time. So that was a pretty big moment. And I knew at that time that I wanted to, like, I really needed to help people. Like, I was in software, I was in game development, virtual reality, augmented reality software. And I had my own company in Seattle, and we were working with the Space Needle, the UK government. We had all these projects. It was fine, but it wasn't like truly what I was here to do. And so I started with healing conversations with people. And so uh, I had the idea for the podcast a few months after that. I got the name of the business, Love Amped, around the same time. And I was in my first relationship after my mom passed away. And that was kind of short-lived, it was only about 5 months, and something that I realized I was trying to, I was trying to help the woman that I was with, like, find self-love, and I was seeing what was happening in relationship when I'm dating someone that doesn't love themselves, and I was like, "Wow, okay, I am doing this all wrong. I just need to help people that are having a hard time loving themselves, and then be in a relationship with someone that has a certain proficiency level of self-love." Now, unfortunately, I did make that mistake a second time. Though, that is what spawned Love Damp, and I started with just my friends, and talking about concepts that I was learning about self-love at the time, because I was like, "Whoa, I haven't really talked about this with many people," and, like, I'm discovering, damn, people are having a hard time loving themselves, this is brutal, And then I eventually like expanded to like a little bit more experts in the field, or people that were also like on a really good trajectory with like serving other people and helping them, like one on one. And then it became this self-love coaching business eventually, which happened literally 2 weeks after I got my life activation, um, through the Modern Mystery School, which I wasn't even planning on that happening. It just like, oh, it's time for me to quit my job and start my business full on. Yeah.
I've got to ask about the loss of your mom, and did that affect your drug use? Did it increase or decrease as a result of losing your mom?
At that point, I was on this uh drug called Accutane for acne medication. I truly do not recommend it. 100%. Oh my gosh. The sexual side effects I experienced, I'm like still healing from this day. It's bad. It's not good. Though on Accutane, they recommend that you don't drink at all. And so at that time, I wasn't that interested in alcohol anyways. So I didn't drink. I was like, oh, this is great. A reason to not drink at all. Awesome. Fantastic. I yeah, I'd quit weed for many years at that point. I still did MDMA every like 4 to 6 months. Um, and that was when about 6 months after she passed, I think I did ayahuasca for the first time. So it didn't. It was already. I was whatever trajectory of substance use I was on. It was just already kind of there, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't go into any like major spiral, which I'm really grateful for. I have to tell this story. When I found out my mom, uh, you know, died, basically, is I got the call from my dad, and I was like, wow, okay, this changes everything. Holy crap, this is nuts. Dang. Pay up the phone, and I sit there with myself for like 5 minutes before I like start telling people and talking to people. And I go, okay, Seth, so what do people usually do in this situation? Oh, they usually ruin their own lives. Okay, you're not going to do that. Great. Excellent. What else are you not going to do? Oh, you're not going to play the what if game. Like, what if I could have, done this? Da, 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 da. And I was like, yeah, okay, I can do that. I don't need to play the what if game. Great. Boom. I made like a contract with myself. It had two parts, and then that was it. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why I didn't end up like, going into this spiral of like self loathing or like, drug use
Yeah.
spikes and all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, that's to me sounds like an amazing level of self-awareness and discipline, and so good for you. Yeah, I imagined,
Thank you.
there's this grief-fueled rampage of mescaline daily, or but
That's called just always walking into the desert, just like, I'm gone. Like, I'll see. No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it was crazy because like there was I think like a week later there was like the, I don't know, celebration of life memorial thing back at my hometown. And I remember I was just like, in a sense, I was like so okay. I was holding space for like everyone there. And I'm not trying to like say that as some like, wow, I was so strong. But it was just I was very surprised because I was like, okay, yeah, this probably isn't the normal experience like that people have after this type of thing happens. I'm like, whoa, people are like breaking down around me, and I'm like, yo, like it's gonna be okay. Like I love you, and my mom's gonna be okay. Like I know it's tragic, and like yeah, surreal, very surreal, of course, even to this day, very surreal.
so I just want to summarize and bring it back, and really give you the opportunity to nail one point: that despite your prior, really sometimes positive experiences with psychedelics, you don't recommend them to people today.
Correct. Not at all. Because if someone has heard my voice and knows my name, Seth Pearson, loveamp.com, then there is no reason for someone, if they are truly seeking a better life, seeking more peace, inner peace, love of themselves and others, finding understanding of this universe, greater understanding of the why you're here, what you're doing, your purpose, your passions, what is true joy. Guess what? Too bad you already found me out. So like this is a better path than psychedelics. 100%. I guarantee it. I like, wow. Like I use the word guarantee. I'm telling you, it's not going to be necessarily easy. Like, yeah, maybe those drugs are going to give you a temporary relief. Like that's, I get that. Like I totally get that. But lasting, true transformational change, it's available to you. And I do not recommend that through psychedelics. I recommend that through hermetics, ancient mystery school teachings, initiation, life activation, Kabbalah. Oh man, there's so many things. And if they know you through this podcast, they should probably already know. Like there's other ways.
So,
and no judgment. I got no judgment.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
doing it. I really don't.
Right. Yeah, we've all like, I don't recommend my path to someone, but it's what got me here. And just like you don't recommend your path to someone, but it's what got you here. So yeah,
Absolutely.
everything can work. But yeah, the mistakes I've made in the past and others can make is to keep returning to something that hasn't brought you benefits, but you keep doing it anyway because you don't know better, or you won't let yourself see possible better. Right. Cool. On top of everything you just shared, what's one thing you wish more men knew?
Oh my gosh. I wish men knew their worth because I didn't know my worth.
Yeah, that's great. So what's the best way for people to find out everything you're up to, Seth, and discover the podcast?
Yes. I am on loveamp.com. That's my website. I'm also loveamped Seth, SETH, on basically every platform, Instagram, X. You can find me on YouTube. Fun little videos there. I just want people to reach out if they are truly looking for a better life. I'm available. I want to help people live their best lives and to love themselves fully and be authentic in all of their interactions and like actually have the most aligned life possible. And it's so available. Whoever's listening to this right now, it's like it's so possible for you. Like, and gosh darn it, let's do it.
Well, thanks for being with us here today, Seth. Thanks for sharing so much about yourself and your past and how everyone can make their present reality their best reality. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Please visit realmenfeel.org, see the blog post for this episode. We'll have all the various links and resources discussed. Wherever you're discovering Real Men Feel, please subscribe, follow, like, share this episode with someone, post a review or a comment. And if you feel compelled to create your best life, it starts with a life activation. And it continues with an Empower Thyself weekend through the Modern Mystery School. This work can only be done in person. So if you're in Massachusetts, reach out to me. If you're in Colorado, where Seth is, reach out to him. And if you're anywhere else in the world, feel free to still reach out to me. I am glad to play matchmaker and get you in touch with a practitioner near you that can help you, again, live your best life, love yourself to the fullest, and have a magnificent experience being a human being. Until next time, be good to yourself.